Sie dreht den Schlüssel. Die Tür ist auf. Town & Country House. Deutschlands meistgebautes Markenhaus mit der kompletten Sicherheit. Plus Geld-Zurück-Garantie. Infos bei allen Town & Country Partnern und www.hausausstellung.de.
Blog Talk Radio.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to this program about the Kundalini. My name is Chrism, and I'd like to welcome everybody in the chat room, everybody calling in to this program today. Today, I'm just going to jump into it like I do sometimes, streaming the Shakti. Oftentimes, we have sick pets at home, and today I want to talk a little bit about healing. And one of the things that we want to do with the healing is to make sure that we, in our care and concern, step out of the way of the Kundalini. Very important to remember that. Step out of the way of the Kundalini, and you let the Kundalini come in. Now, the Kundalini may come in ways that are very, very, very familiar to you or very strange to you. For instance, the object or the person or the animal of the healing may be suffused with a certain color, or you may hear a hum or a vibration around them. You may just feel the feeling of waves of energy leaving you and coming into them. These are all opportunities for you to learn about the many dynamics that the Kundalini gives to a person when they're infused with the Kundalini. And remember, this is not Reiki. Uh-oh, I got some sort of musical thing here. Don't know what that's all about. Okay, I guess it's okay. So it's not like Reiki, and it's not like therapeutic touch, and it's not like theta healing or bazooka bubblegum healing or cucumber souffle healing or vanilla chocolate. There's all these flavors of healing out there that people are just trying to basically suck the money out of your wallet with. And because the entire time that they're sucking money out of your wallet, lightening the load of your wallet, you have this healing skill within you right now with the Shakti Kundalini. So I would just like to say that and for you to remember that. So right now I've got a sick dog. In our German Shepherd is quite ill. She's not able to hold a lot of things down, and yet she still has a lot of, a good level of consciousness. She's still interested, and, she still wants to be with us and with the pack. She doesn't want to just go off and be alone. So the Kundalini is reaching into her. It even pulled another Kundalini activated person to the house this morning. And I've been up since, I went to bed at, no, I didn't go to bed. I'm sorry. I went to bed at 6:30 this morning, Pacific Standard Time, because I was up all night with Indara, and I was keeping an eye on her and cleaning up all of the vomit and some of the other things that were going on. And it's not when your pet is sick, it's like having a child that is sick. It's like having an infant that is sick, because the pets don't necessarily talk to you in a way that allows you to understand exactly what's going on with them. And you have to look at the history, and you have to, okay, what did we do yesterday? What may have brought this on? Blah, blah, blah. And the Kundalini will help you do this. It'll help you to remember all these things, but it'll also begin to insert itself into the pet as a healing dynamic, as a healing embrace of the animal. And there's no guarantee that it's, that the Kundalini is going to, make it all better, and that the animal's not going to die or anything like that. but it does give you the ability to really, really, really surrender yourself to the Kundalini, and yet still follow the instructions, the many instructions that the Kundalini may give you. And if you hear some scratching on the sound right here, it's because I'm giving Tika, our other dog, some well-placed pets on her because she's concerned as well. So the whole family gets upset. And I just want you to understand that this is okay. This is not an abnormal thing. When you have a sick child or a sick pet or, a sick friend, your Kundalini will begin to generate an energetic field that can encompass and insert itself into the body of the individual. And I just want you to not try to control it. I want you to watch it. I want you to, take the education that she is giving you by showing you and allowing you to see and feel what the sacred feminine, the Shakti, is doing. And by doing that, you learn greater levels of consistency in your own surrender, in your own, bringing Shakti into a more dominant position in your life. It's a very, very positive thing. And maybe that's what Inara is doing. Maybe that's one of the reasons why she's sick, is so that the Shakti can go in. And actually, I see her being filled with color, and I do see a little bit of a thing inside her stomach right now. So you got a little red and white in there, which could cause stomach upset, which could cause, the dog to vomit and vomit. And so I want you to really begin to learn from this type of scenario. Maybe Inara right now is everybody's teacher on what, from a Kundalini placement and a Kundalini example, what we can do for our fellow mortals, the pets that we bring into our love and our hearts and our families. So it's something to really, really, really consider. Inara right now is laying next to the couch, and Tika's laying across from her, and everybody's in a peaceful, kind of a serene state right now. And so I just want to let you know that you can also connect a grounding cord to an animal. You can put a bubble of energy around them, and you can just ask that energy to just go straight into the core of the earth, which, of course, going into the earth is going into the Shakti. And so you ask the Shakti to connect herself to the animal, and you ask her as you would ask any human being. I don't care if it looks like you're talking to the air, which happens a lot in this household. As you speak to the Kundalini and you communicate with the Kundalini with extreme reverence and extreme respect, you ask the Shakti to give a healing to that loved one. And then you observe what happens to your energy as the Shakti may use your energy to do it, or just the energy that the Shakti has, complicit within her own self. So if you have any questions about healing an animal or an infant or anything like that using the Kundalini, feel free to call in. The phone number is area code 347-934-0026, or you can ask a question here on the chat room. The chat room is up, and I see we have a couple of callers coming in right now. It looks like they're the Minnesota people. Hello, Minnesota community. I see Katie's there too in the chat room. So yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and introduce my co-host here, and she's a very helpful person on the Kundalini Awakening Systems groups, all the different groups. This radio program is her gift of service to the Kundalini community at large, and I'd like to welcome my co-host, Amelia Santara. Hi, Amelia.
Hi, Chrism. Hi, everybody. Good to be here.
Go on.
Well, first of all, I'm thinking of Inara, and I am sad and a little bit to hear that she's unwell. It's not easy thinking of her being so sick and vomiting and so pukey, Chrism. So, so much love and healing for her.
she's vomiting out both ends. Which isn't
I
really.
gathered that from your gentle and long pauses. Yeah, that's nasty. Yeah.
Well, it's just a good indication that she still has her energy and she still has her awareness. So we're just hoping it'll be like a 24-hour flu, and we'll look at it that way.
Yeah.
So anyway, have you had experience healing the animals?
Yes, I have had a few pets. One actually received a lot of healing after an accident, being attacked by another dog.
Oh.
And that was a very nasty thing. But the Kundalini came in there and really, really helped. And actually, it's interesting, Chrism, when you say the serenity, the serenity that can come into a situation when an animal is sick, or even indeed when a child is sick, is quite amazing when the Kundalini is present in the dynamic. And when you place, when I place my ego away for what I want, and I want it now, and you can feel the Kundalini coming in and being there, and that brings a wonderful serenity into the situation, in my experience.
Yeah.
Kundalini can do miraculous. Sorry.
And it leads to a really, really positive environment for the healing to exist at all. One of the things that I really want to bring up with this is in regards to animals that we bring into our lives, we must really begin to treat the animals the way you would treat a human being. You cannot, they are not disposable friends. They are not beings that are here just for your entertainment. Uh-oh, what did I do here? Can you still hear me?
You're still on there. Yes.
God, I think I may have destroyed the chat room here. I was brushing Tika's fur off of the. Oh, here it is. Good. So yeah, they are not disposable friends. They are not lesser than the human being. They have just as important a life force as the human being. And I don't care if it's an ant, one individual ant from that ant farm that you may have, or it's a big old beautiful German Shepherd or husky wolf like we have here at this house, or a beautiful kitty cat like Lasha. These are fellow mortals. These are people that are in different types of bodies, and these people, these loved ones, need to be treated in such a way that you would treat your own child. They are not things that you can just dispose of because your current circumstances change. They have to be taken care of. And if you can't do that, don't get one. And if you have the Kundalini, and the Kundalini is giving you an opportunity to share your love and your care and your concern and your respect and your responsibility with this fellow mortal, i.e., like Lasha. 2005 Halloween night, Lasha came into my life, and I had a real choice, to make as far as, taking this little kitty cat in, and the choice was made, and, she was there, and she's been with me ever since, like 11 years now. And, it's been a very, very positive scenario, but, you've got to treat them like the phrase says, like fellow mortals. These are people that Yes. Is that you, that Santara? Because I know it wasn't me.
What was it?
That was your phone. Your phone.
I got a message, I think. Yes. Oh, wow, look at that. Yes. Was there a beep or a noise?
It was a vibration. Zeet, zeet, zeet. So just kind of see what you can do about that, okay?
I can do nothing, but I shouldn't get any more in, hopefully.
Okay. Put it on silent. You know, you can put it on silent. It doesn't have to be vibe. It can be silent.
It's on. Yeah. Okay.
Okay. All right. So, you know, and this expands. And so as your Kundalini radiance expands, your love, your respect, your connection with the environment around you expands as well. So, for instance, you know, with my Kundalini, I'm able to connect with creatures that you don't typically get to connect with, such as walking the dogs the other day, and I came across a fairly rare sight. I came across this beautiful, beautiful long serpent, and I don't know if I mentioned this. I don't think I did mention it last week. I came across this beautiful long serpent, and this serpent, I didn't know what it was, but I knew it didn't have the triangular head, so I knew it wasn't a viper. But even a coral snake that can kill you in like seconds doesn't have a triangular head. And this did have the markings. This had, you know, it was a ringed serpent, and the serpent was just laying there in the grass right next to the trail, right next to a very, very heavily traveled trail. And I was surprised. I was wondering, does that serpent need help? That was my first thought. Not, what is it going to do to me if I get too close? My thought was, wow, does that creature need some help? What can I do to help? And I slowly walked by it, and I took a picture of it. And as I was walking the girls, I was kind of Googling it to try to figure out what it was, and was it somebody's escaped pet, or did somebody just abandon their creature, you know, on the side of the footpath? And, you know, and if so, I was going to pick it up, and I was thinking about, okay, what kind of an aquarium can I get? You know, do I have to feed it mice or frogs or whatever, you know, whatever its diet would include. And I thought, the other thought was, well, is it endemic to the area? Is it a natural part of this environment? Because there was a creek right next door. I mean, like literally like 20 feet away, there was a creek. And I just started sending really strong appreciation vibes to the serpent, and the, you know, feeling the Shakti reach into it. And finally, I was able to discover what kind of a serpent it was. And it was a serpent that was natural to the area. But the unnatural part is that it's ever exposing itself to public viewing like it just did. And that was very interesting. Did you hear that?
Well, that was you, was it not? That was not me.
I have no idea. My God, these noises. The noises are coming from the computer. I don't know. Anyway, so it happened to be a California king snake, and you know, a very, very reclusive creature. You hardly ever see them. And here this one was about, you know, 3.5 feet long, lying next to the trail. And I felt so blessed to be able to see it, because I've heard of them, but I've never had the opportunity to see one up close. And so I was really happy to see that. You know, so there you have it. I mean, this type of an arrangement, I mean, you'll get to engage the environment in a very different way than say you normally would without it. And that goes with the bugs and the insects and the spiders. And Lana Seeker is writing, Chrism, she says, do you know how Jainism and Hinduism differ from each other with respect to the kinds of fellow mortals that have souls, and and how they should be treated? Yeah, not buying it. They all have souls. Paramecium have souls. They just, you know, some of these creatures do not have the kind of soul that is any way, shape, or form reminiscent of a human soul, which is really what is doing the discerning is the human consciousness, which is related to the human soul. And so Jainism and Hinduism, I'm not going to go specific into Jainism or Hinduism. We both know that, Hinduism, that they feel that people turned into an animal. Like this is why they have the sacred cows, because it could be a relative that had passed away. I'm not real sure which one Jainism is going with, but these are broad-based generalizations that religious authorities have placed as fact. They place them as fact because they want the people to believe them as fact, and it is not a fact. They all have consciousness. They all have the ability to respond to love and respect and care, and even if that love, respect, and care includes you just leaving them alone, that's also a form of respect and care, because not everybody likes to be pet by people. Not everybody even likes the smell of people. So you've got to respect that. Like that snake that oh, okay. Well, so what I'm saying now, Alana Seeker writes that the Jains believe even very small entities called Nagotas have a soul. Well, see, so I guess what the Kundalini is telling me is she's more in line with that. Tadpoles have a soul. Everything, plants have a soul. Just an example of the plant souls. I was. Last February, I was in Bend, Oregon, and I was doing an ayahuasca ceremony, and the three shamans that were there were in the process of accessing the spiritual consciousness of specific trees. And when they did the ayahuasca ceremony, they would call up a tree, and they would, like, this is a specific tree that they were calling up, and they start out like this in their chant with the Ikaro. They would go, Ayahum, and then they go into the Ikaro, but the Ayahum is calling up that spirit of that tree. It's definitely a spiritual communication with a life form that is very different from the human life form. And so, yeah, the Kundalini, you've got to realize that mushrooms have consciousness, trees have consciousness, virus colonies have an egregoric consciousness. An egregore is a consciousness that is formed from many different beings believing in, say, a similar thing. And of course, mushrooms and spores and things of that nature have their own level of consciousness. This is why it is so important that we really begin to respect all forms of creation. Even the rocks and the soil have consciousness. The clouds have consciousness. We are, the hubris of humanity, consigns consciousness to that which the ego consciousness of the individual can understand, can contemplate, can communicate with, can interact with, can consume, can have fear of, can have joy with, these types of things. And consciousness is so much more than what the limited human five sense consciousness can really conceive of. It's just amazingly vast. Consciousness is vast, and it comes in all different shades of the rainbow and all different flavors of ice cream. Consciousness is huge. It's huge. And I just want you to realize that as you walk through your life and as you the many different aspects of your life, that you realize that even the air you breathe, the particles of life forms that you breathe in, whether it's a virus of a viral nature or whatever that may be, has consciousness to it. And in an expanded awareness, you become aware of all these different consciousness levels, all of them. and you breathe the consciousness, and you metabolize consciousness, and the rush of air that you may hear in your ear, when the room is silent, is filled with consciousness. It fills so much that it becomes kind of like a white noise or a pink noise. It's like so many different sounds coming at you at the same time that your brain can perceive, but your consciousness cannot decode, because it's looking at it from a limited format. With the Kundalini, decoding can happen for a person. And within that decoding, you can understand that this is the ocean wave of life that constantly permeates the cosmos. Not just this world, but other worlds as well, and the spaces between the worlds, and the sun has a consciousness, the moon has a consciousness. I mean, consciousness is so very, very, very diverse. They're not all of the same frequency, and you're not going to interact with them in all the same way. But that's okay. That just means that there's a diversity of consciousness. And so I think, if the Jains are believing that, Alana Seeker, then, I think they're a lot closer to the truth. A person, this is funny that you bring this up, Alana Seeker. I was getting a download from the Kundalini the other day, just like a day and a half ago or 2 days ago. And I was contemplating these people that torture dogs by putting them in a dog fighting venue, and they kidnap people's pets as bait dogs in order to have their bodies mutilated and to in some way entice the fighting dogs to fight even harder. And I was looking at that, and hi, Centaur. I was looking at that, and I was going, well, geez, what is the karmic response to that? And one of the things that a person is asked after they die, or they're told after they die, is like, how did you help or comfort a creature or a fellow mortal in your life? What did you do? And this is part of the after death review. How did you treat other life forms that were different from you on this world? And as that person, a person that does that type of activity, they can indeed be reborn into the animals that they abused, and they can go through that very same level of abuse in order to balance that karma. This is what I'm told. And this goes all along with people that, use a heavy dose of pesticide everywhere they go. Not because they need to, but because they want to. They just want to kill everything that's around them so they don't have to deal with it. Boom. You get to be that moth or that butterfly or that honeybee that dies because, you've been spraying nicotinoids all over the place. So you get to do that. And so karmically, yeah, you can really, really, you can, because there is no limitation on how your karma can be fulfilled. No limitations at all. And you're welcome, Lana Seeker. Lana Seeker says, okay, thanks. And, because of that lack of limitation, you can be given karmic retribution options. Retribution, is that the word? No. Redemption. Karmic redemption options that do not include coming back as a human. You will eventually come back as a human because you're a human soul. But even as the shamans know, you can shapeshift, and you can take on the consciousness of a fellow mortal, a bird or a cat or a bear, of something of that nature, or even a paramecium, even a fish, even something that's lower on the food chain. So it is so very, very much important for us to begin to really respect and care for and show great levels of gratitude for our fellow mortals around us. We do not. I have to tell you. So I was taken in to a dog fighting ring. I was taken in from the entranceway by the Shakti. So she took me in to the entrance of a dog fighting ring, but it wasn't so much to be with the humans. It was showing me what kind of spiritual attachment. That's one of the questions I asked her. What causes a person to be interested in seeing this type of hurt being inflicted? What's going on with that? She showed me. She said, so she took me in there, and immediately I was besieged by entities of a demonic nature that were very, very, very corrosively corruptive, very, very, very coercion oriented, very much trying to tie into the spinal cord of the individual and the energetic anatomy of the individual in order to pump enjoyment into seeing this level of violence and hurt shown to you, and to want to make that bet, but just to enjoy the pain, enjoy the hurt, and it's almost like a sexual thing. It's just like, oh God, and it's the same thing with the fighting of the roosters, or even the fighting of human beings. There's this primal carnivorous attitude of stepping into a dangerous situation without being harmed. Some of these people get so involved with this that they crave it. They crave it, and these entities stay with them, and these entities are multipeds, meaning they have more than one appendage, and they plug into every chakra, and they begin to really, really, really infuse levels of destruction, of anger, of satisfaction for pain, into the individual, and this individual, can really become consumed this way. So she showed me that. I even got to, she showed me what the demons look like, and what they do, and how they were kind of bouncing off me, because I think she took me to a real one energetically, and just so I could see and experience why this is occurring, and how she wants me to incorporate this into a teaching for people not to engage in this type of activity. Certainly not with Kundalini. Very cruel, very, very, very cruel. And as we treat the fellow mortals, so are we given the invitation to treat each other in a very similar fashion. So it's very, very, very important things to consider here with regards to how you treat the animals and the insects and the flowers and the trees and the grass in your life. You don't spray them with you don't spray the plants with weed killer, with Monsanto glycophosphates, or you don't do this. There is no such thing as a weed. WEED. A weed is a derogatory term used for a plant life form consciousness that we don't understand, and we don't necessarily like the way it looks, or the growth pattern that it has. It doesn't bloom into this beautiful rose or flower, and so therefore it's a lesser life form, and therefore we should just kill it to get it out of our garden. No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. Doesn't mean to say that you cannot be, that you can't selectively maintain your garden and things like that. You just need to talk to them, and you need to give them the understanding that they can grow over there, but over here, this is where the lettuce is growing, or the tomatoes, or whatever. That is a different deal. Once again, we touch on things that the Native Americans would do, some of the tribes would do with regards to their interaction with the life forms around them. Remember that life forms around us in nature are expressions of sacred feminine Shakti Kundalini. You've got to know this and you've got to respect it. All the life including the gases that you breathe, the oxygen, the nitrogen, the argon, the carbon dioxide that you breathe out, these are all aspects of sacred goddess feminine Kundalini. And so all of the life form, all of creation around you needs to be honored in such a way. And I know you're thinking, oh my God, that's such a big bite. Oh my God, how am I going to fit respecting it? All the various creatures and creation that surrounds me, and you just do it with love. You express yourself in a loving way with your radiance that the Kundalini gives you into all aspects of creation that is around you. All aspects. You walk gently on the lawn. You do your very best that you can do within the society that you live in to be respectful and beneficial to the life forms around you. Many of you have not been brought up to appreciate consciousness in the way that I'm speaking. Some of you have never had pets. Some of you, didn't grow up on a farm, a working farm, and weren't given the availability of seeing nature in the natural state of growing and producing and nurturing and doing this every minute, every second, every millisecond of the 24-hour day that we have on this world. I mean, this is an amazing level of creation that is constantly occurring here. We are given the option to give love and respect and care and nurturance to everything and everyone around us. And this is what the Kundalini is doing. It's not about winning the lottery. And don't get me wrong, I would love to win the lottery. I would spread Kundalini information far and wide if I had indeed do that. And I know Centaura has actually come close to winning the lottery, and I hope she does, because I know she would do the exact same thing. But as I've mentioned in other programs, the gradation of evolution on this world is not the same for every person. Some people are at different levels of evolution than others, and they're not lesser and they're not more. They're just at different, let's just say they're in different classrooms. And some of these classrooms, these people are not in the availability for care and concern of the environment to exist for them. But that doesn't mean that we cannot change society to increase that available in those classrooms where they're currently not available. Science is great for that. Science is great. They'll go out and they'll find a threatened species. Maybe there's 5 left on the world, and they'll capture it and they'll kill it, and they'll say, oh, well, it's sacrificed for science. And I'm thinking, well, let's just sacrifice science instead. That's me. Like, don't go around killing things when there's hardly anything left. Oh my God, first of all, there's, anyway, I could go on and on. Science is a great classroom where there's not a lot of respect for the consciousness of the environment around them. If they don't have some sort of a meter that allows them to measure the level of consciousness, then they're not really interested. And even if they do have a meter, which they do, the ECG or the EKG, or even a lie detector machine can measure brain waves of a plant. And they've done this, guy named Christopher Bird, I think, and it's called The Secret Life of Plants. And they did the scientific experiments that allowed people to understand that plants do indeed respond to an emotional environment. And so do all creatures. So do all creatures. And so, science is one of those classrooms where we can increase the level of appreciation, nurturance, and awareness of the consciousness of all life. And yet, because as Atlantis Seeker brought up a little while ago, that's relegated to the theological understandings. And scientists like to see themselves as far from spirituality because it can't be measured or proven, therefore it doesn't exist. God can't be measured or proven, therefore God does not exist. And so they're fairly atheistic. A lot of them, not all of them, but a lot of them are that way. And so we as Kundalini people, we know that science works. We know that spiritual belief systems work. We know that even though Kundalini is beyond all of that, Kundalini is the biggest umbrella in the world because Kundalini incorporates all levels of human and divine creation, all levels. We just have to bring our radiance into the populations in a greater way that will allow those people as well to begin to be educated in these areas, and not educated through pencil and notebook and a computer terminal, but educated through feelings and thoughts and the observance of the actions by other Kundalini people of noticing and nurturing the fellow mortals around us, giving the fellow mortals healing. And I'll relate a story that I told a while back. I was early in my process, very early in my process. This was in the first awakening. I think I was around 18. I went into one of the old sheds on the farm that I was living on, and of course, I saw, there were black widows on the wall. Black widows are a form of poisonous spider, poisonous arachnid, and I saw one that kind of was a little wobbly on the floor, and I thought, there's a great opportunity to give a healing. So I start, I start running the Kundalini through my palms of my hand, which I do sometimes, and through the hand chakras, and wow, I started to give that spider healing. I could see that it was responding well to the healing, and then I heard a scream come from the wall, and spiders scream. You can hear spiders screaming. A lot of it, it's not a scream in pain. It's a scream It's a communicative scream. There's a lot of data involved in one scream from a spider. Anyway, so it was another black widow, and basically what she was telling me was, how dare you interrupt the life cycle of our species? How dare you think that you know so much about the life forms on this world that you can just arbitrarily interrupt the life cycle? And I was given to see that this spider was indeed sacrificing itself so that the babies could live off of its body. Much the same way that a human female allows the child to take her nutrients and her protein and her enzymes and live off of the mother. So does the black widow also insert this, except it's the male that does it. The female lays the eggs inside the male or consumes the male, and the children use the male body as a way of having nurturance and their entrance into the life. And so, of course, Mrs. Black Widow, screams at me and starts running down the wall towards me, and I get this whole information in a very quick download, and I pull back, I apologize, and I leave the shed. Okay. Now I know people who are not Kundalini, are going to listen to this and just kind of scoff at it. But let me tell you, ladies and gentlemen, those of you that do have the Kundalini, this is all doable. This is all a true reality. Nobody's lying here. Nobody's lying here. And wow, I mean, I've got the buzz going on here. I'm going to have to turn this phone off. Wow. Good. Okay, I'm going to turn it off right now. Just a minute, folks. You got to hang on to the button. And I'm going to come back over to Amelia Centara. Have you had any experiences similar to this, Amelia?
No, not really, Chrism. No, I mean I've had different experiences. One actually that comes to mind is I was on holidays a couple of years ago, maybe 4 years ago, and I was over. It was the Grand Canaries, and
do they have canaries there?
I was going for a walk. No, I was going for a walk, and I came across this very, very large, what do they call those black beetles with the legs? You have different, like a cockroach, but it was huge, and it was lying on, it was lying on its back, twiggling, just straw. But I walked on. Because I don't like them, and this was at a time when I was having a lot of animal communications, I guess. Anyway, I walked on because it was just so, I couldn't, but I had maybe walked on maybe 6 or 7 steps, and I just could not ignore it. So I turned around again, and at that time, I was going through this thing about, something similar to what you were saying. Do you interfere or not interfere with, there had been a couple of things happened. Anyway, I couldn't, I turned around and I came back, and just as I was coming back, the beetle turned over and walked away on its own. So I didn't have to, in any way.
You were willing to, though, right? You were willing to give him a little hand with that?
Yes, I was. But, I mean, I think it's fascinating, Chrism, because sometimes we rescue things, and I wonder, should we? So I think before we do that, do we not need to, are we there at that particular moment in time? We have to pause, maybe. Do we?
Exactly. That's the key right there. Was it brought to your awareness? And what kind of a test are you being given? And Michelle Ranger asks, a very similar question. She says, how do you, and I guess she's going to put no, she goes, how do you know what animal, plant, human to help without interrupting the cycle? If your Shakti has made you aware of it, then you can help it. If your Shakti has made you aware of it, then you can help it. And what's to say that you're not part of that cycle? Now, I received the communication from the spider. Don't mess with our cycle. This is what we do to reproduce. I got that message. I got that message loud and clear. So I don't go around giving black widows a healing anymore, because I have to be able to be very, very clear that they're not, how do I say it? They're not in any trouble. They're working it out amongst themselves, and it just goes back to that hubris of the human being that thinks that everybody's going to think and do the same things that humans think and do. That it goes back to that whole science, the hubris of science that basically states, well, if it doesn't think like a person or manipulate its environment like the person or have morals and ethics and ideologies like people, well, then it's not consciousness, it's not real, and we can just destroy it or, disrespect it in whatever way we want. That is not the case. With Kundalini, we have expanded consciousness. We have horizons that go beyond this world. Our horizons go beyond the multiverses of the great divine being that we're a part of. And so we are given the opportunity to look beyond the beyond, to look beyond the shallow limitations of the hubris of the 5 sense unawakened person. And this represents most of the societies that we're in right now. The Chinese are killing everything. The Chinese they don't see any kind of consciousness in the animals around them. And the consciousness that they do see, they're just looking to see if it gives them an erection or not. Seriously, no joke. Well, let's kill this tiger so we can cut off his penis so I can get a hard on. Jesus. So Kundalini people are exceptionally needed on this world right now so that we can help change that frequency of vibration, that frequency of mentalism that is so currently active on this world. This is why it's important for you to have the radiance that you're having and to expand it beyond your egoistic feelings and will. You know, this isn't about you being, oh, I'm the great healer, yes, oh, come to me, give me your money. This isn't about that at all. This is about you interrupting, shall we say, the thought cycle of 5 sense blind people towards a greater reality of divine evolution upon them. This is about you spreading that radiance into the environment, spreading that radiance into the social system, spreading that radiance into the scientific system, spreading that radiance into the political systems, so that the sacred feminine, which represents all nature and all creation on this world, is nourished, is protected, is honored, is healed, is helped. This is why you're here. So I want to invite you within the healing of our fellow mortals to really, really nourish and build a bonfire of radiance, the radiance of love, the radiance of respect, the radiance of acceptance of different forms of creation consciousness around you. Don't fight the viruses. This is another way. The viruses could end us in a day on this planet. If all the viruses decided, okay, we've had enough of the humans here. Oh my God, look at all that glycophosphate they're spraying all over the place. Okay, enough. The viruses could end us in less than a day. In less than a day. We exist here by the grace of other life forms that could end us so quickly. Oh, hi, Lasha. Hi, sweetheart. Yes, I'm talking about viruses right now, not that kitty cats are too concerned about that. Lasha's expanded my consciousness quite a bit. Yeah, we could be ended by just the birds. The birds could all of a sudden decide that, oh man, enough of this. Okay. And there we go. You know, there the human species goes. We are very, very, very delicate life forms. And we don't have the availability of teeth and claws and really sharp beaks. We don't have the availability of withstanding an attack from the consciousness of viral colonies. I mean, we're attacked every day by viral colonies. The more you can increase your radiance and your respect for the other life forms on this world, including viral and bacteriological colonies, the better your own immune system will become, and the better and stronger your radiance of grace will become. You've just got to stop being so afraid. You've got to stop being so afraid of different forms of creation consciousness. They won't look like you. They may have 8 legs instead of 2. They may have fur. They may swim in the ocean. They may breathe underwater. They may fly through the air. They may look like something from a horror film. If you go down to Brazil and you see some of the insects there, you just kind of go, oh my God, who created that one? What were they thinking? You know, it could get pretty wild. You know, you just look at a Peruvian jumping spider. Oh, Lordy more. Oh my God. You know, and this is one of the most intelligent of the arachnid species. I mean, it's just amazing the diversity of life that we have here that we're killing every day. You know, species are going into extinction every day. because of the footprint of humanity, and which is once again why it is so important for us to have the radiance of Kundalini and to have the downloads and the knowledge that the Shakti gives us about the environment around us. You've really got to get into this, folks. It's, first of all, it's very beautiful and it's amazing. It's very, very beautiful and amazing. And there's so much knowledge to be had. It's just mind-boggling, the level of knowledge that can come. And as I was mentioning, a Peruvian jumping spider earlier, one of our dear friends and healing partners, Elizabeth Dalton Gonzalez, that is one of the first, as far as I can, let me ask her here. She's online. Hi, Elizabeth.
Hi, Chrism.
Hey, the Peruvian jumping spider was one of your first real strong communications with the Shakti, right?
Yes, definitely. I've had snakes in dreams or dreamt of being bit and things like that by a snake. Also earlier on, but nothing as profound as the spider and the, coming in the waking visions and all that.
What we've been talking about, I know you just called in, what we've been talking about is how important it is for us to find the resources within ourselves and our Kundalini to expand our respect for nature, to expand our acceptance of, nurturance of, and recognition of the many different life forms that exist in this cosmos, and to really understand that they have their own consciousness. It may not be a human consciousness, but it is their own consciousness, and it is just as viable and just as important and just as beautiful as any human consciousness could ever become. And this includes the consciousness of virus colonies and bacteriological creatures and all the way on up to the cryptozoological creatures that are still lurking in existence on this world, and yet are not being allowed to come under the scalpel of science, so to speak. And so this is what we've been talking about. Does LaDonya have anything to add about that? And just an FYI, everybody, LaDonya is Spanish for the word spider, and ever since Elizabeth Dalton Gonzalez was down in Peru and she did her ayahuasca experience down there, I mean, almost from the get-go, the Kundalini spider started to speak to her and give her very specific and informative downloads. And so I like to have her come on to the program here to share some of those downloads that she gets from her Kundalini. So it's not all about just Chrism and his Kundalini. Go ahead, Elizabeth.
Gosh, one thing I wanted to say, when you first were talking about that, just made me think of a wonderful thing that we used to do in Kabbalah, where you would go out and you would choose a tree and you would sit with that tree. And I think you've had me even do this with my choosing a Kundalini tree that you can go out and commune with and meditate under, and you literally take that tree as a teacher and let the Shakti within that tree teach you. And and you would think, oh, I'm just going to sit beneath a tree. What can I learn? It's shocking how much a tree will teach you. And I think it's the same with everything. I think it's a great exercise to go out and, commune with a tree or a rock or whatever, and listen to animals, especially birds, snakes, spiders. They all are drawn to us. They all come to us. And I think it's just a really, really neat exercise and important, especially with Kundalini people, to take each one of those experiences, no matter what it might be, or what animal, or what, whether it's in the physical or not. But if it's in the physical, to go out and just be with that and see what you learn from it.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I think that's a great idea. And yes, I have had people do that. And you've got to understand that all life form is intelligent around you. They may not be intelligent in the way that humans expect intelligent to be expressed, but they have their own kind of intellect. They have their own communication with the divine. And in many cases, the divine is far more expressive through them than it is through the ego and the hubris of the ego of the human being. And and I think this is very important to note. Just as I don't know if I mentioned it before, but I was just out. It's been raining here, and the wind has been blowing and whatnot, and I have this little Charlotte's Web thing going on with a spider there in the doorway, going out back to the backyard, and I noticed that the wind blew her web apart, and I was out there one night as I was letting the dogs do their business out in the back, and I just shone the light on her, the flashlight on her, and she showed me how very, very methodical she was in putting the web together and how to, she puts the long strand that is vertical, and then she puts, in a very, very specific way, she puts the horizontal strands together, and she's very methodical about it. She's very patient about it. She's not in a big hurry. She's not rushing. She's very, very, very organized. It's very beautiful to watch, and she has her own level of intellect, and she wasn't screaming at me either, which was very nice. I've had some of the more predatory spiders come along to me, and they'll land on the wall next to me, or they'll just climb up the wall next to me, and they'll turn around and look at me, and they'll scream at me, just letting me know how absolutely fearless some of the creation around us is. I mean, they don't care if you're 20 stories taller than them. They will look at you and go, don't mess with me.
Or they may have babies nearby letting you know,
Yeah. It's like, I will mess you up.
Yeah.
Whether or not they can or not doesn't matter. They think they can. And so so yeah. You've got to really, really begin to understand that this environment that we live in, and I'd like to thank you, Elizabeth, and I'd like to thank LaTanya, for giving us your perspective and for giving us that the example of the tree and sitting out next to a tree. And I encourage everybody to take her advice with that and to sit out in that tree and just begin to observe and inform yourself of the many different life forms that exist around you, and to send them your love and your appreciation as fellow mortal life forms on this world. Definitely do that. And I'm going to put you in the blue, dear Elizabeth. Thank you.
All righty. Thank you.
And you just really want to expand your radiance and allow your radiance to expand your consciousness. So you do the practice every day. You do the safety protocols every day. You spin to the right 21 times. You do the leg lifts 21 times. You get on your knees and you put your chin to your chest and you throw that head back as you inhale air 21 times. You do the mesa or the table 21 times. You do the downward dog and upward camel or whatever they call that, the fifth Tibetan, 21 times. You do the alternate nostril breathing, for 21 minutes. You do these things to nurture the expansion of your consciousness. This is what Kundalini allows us to have. This is what Kundalini allows us to bring. this is the opportunity that we have in this world. To share of our grace. And I'm going to come back up here to Santara here and ask Santara, do we have a question?
One moment, Chrism.
Okay, all right.
No, we don't, but I do have a question that I could ask, if I may, coming from the conversation. So will I do that now, or do you want me to hold it?
Go ahead.
Okay, because it has nothing to do with the topics you've been talking about. So will I go ahead anyway now?
Yeah, go ahead anyway now.
Okay, all right, okay. So the lady that I was speaking to has very recently, her daughter was molested in her house, in her own house. She lives with her daughter. And about 2 weeks ago, she allowed her stepfather, this is the child's step-grandfather, to come and live with them. And that was when the molestation happened. And this lady, who is Kundalini active, was extremely angry initially, but then, and felt violent, but went into prayer immediately to the Kundalini and asked what to do. And the Kundalini directed her to call the police and have the person removed, which she did. But up until that point, she thought that her stepfather was going through Kundalini himself and was having a fragmentation. And she's wondering about that connection. And also,
go ahead.
Yeah. No. Do you want to speak on that, Chrism? I mean.
Yeah. So even if the grandfather, the stepfather, it's the step person that did the molestation, right?
Yes, that's correct.
So even if the stepfather was having a fragmentation, jail would be one of the safest places for them to have that fragmentation. Safe for society and safe for the individual. On a physical level. On a spiritual level, of course, there's all kinds of demonic type of stuff going on in a prison and a jail. But that person is setting themselves up for that when they succumb to the invitation of corruption to do that to a child. Of course, the Kundalini would say, hey, call the police and have them arrested. That makes perfect sense to me. And I would have done the exact same thing.
Okay, so she also is forgiving this person as best she can, but also she said that before this happened, she had been praying to the Kundalini that she was willing to sacrifice herself in any way that she could or that was necessary in order to be of service or to help others. And she's kind of wondering, was there some responsibility there? Was the Kundalini responsible there in some way for what happened? I didn't quite follow her question, Chrism, because you came in and I hadn't time to finish.
No, the Kundalini isn't going to go. The Kundalini will not go, oh, stepfather, molest that child. Have a go. Make a video. Not going to do that. What's going to happen is the Kundalini is going to open up the individual, and the individual will be given very specific choices to either corrupt and hurt and molest, or to respect, to nurture, to love, to care for. And this person chose, shall we say, the more challenging areas, and is paying the price for that challenge right now. And that is exactly as it needs to be. Does she carry any responsibility? No, not at all. I mean, I know she invited the step-grandfather, whatever the guy is, into the household. She invited him in as an act of kindness and consideration. Just because you're acting in kindness and consideration doesn't mean that the individual you're being kind and considerate to is going to respond in the very same way to you or to your child. That was obviously not the case, but you don't carry blame for that unless in some way you were forewarned that guy was going to do those things to that child. And then, of course, you would shoulder some part of the blame for not paying attention or listening to that guidance. But from what I'm understanding, the way it's being told to me right now, from her to you and you to me, no, the man chose the corruptive route. And so the man is walking that path of corruption. And he's walking that path of corruption right into the jail cell. And part of that path of corruption is perhaps pacing back and forth inside of a small space for a number of years. Sometimes we have to take a lot of switchbacks to learn what is appropriate and what isn't. The mother, I don't think, should harbor any guilt whatsoever. Now she can focus and ask her Kundalini to reach into her daughter and to begin the healing process, to begin the process of helping that child understand what went on, why it went on, who it was, and not to hide any of the facts of what occurred, but to be very gentle and very healing and very nurturing and kind and compassionate within those levels of communication and education. With regards to the perpetrator, of course, she should forgive that individual, of course. And you just let the Shakti do the work that the Shakti wants to do with regards to how that individual is going to be treated, how that individual is going to themselves be educated about the ramifications of choosing specific pathways that are based in ego corruption. Over.
Thank you, Chrism. I would like to go and just check with her because she wants to stay anonymous if there's anything else. May I do that?
Yes, please.
Because she has been listening. Yeah. Okay.
All right. So this, we find ourselves given these many different options, many different times of the day. It can be as innocuous as running the stop sign, or it can be as grievous as committing an act of molestation upon a child, which literally has the ability to change the life path of that child just to assuage your own carnal lusts and desires. This will not go well. Nara, come here, honey bun. It's very important for people to realize that you will be given the options, and you just need to choose the right options. You just need to choose the right options. And I'm going to go over here and I'll go back to Elizabeth. Elizabeth. Oops, sorry. Elizabeth. Sorry.
Yeah.
What does Ladanya have to say about that? What is your opinion about that?
Well, the choosing of the right options. Lately, I've been getting, the whole thing about the ebb and flow and the high and low, and the more Kundalini energy we're given, the darker options that are offered to us, I want to say, or that are available. So it becomes, my whole point is it becomes even more important which options you choose, because they will get more intense, darker, and so you just have to, I guess she's just saying, you have to be so careful, because you will, as a test, be offered more and more things to choose from that will determine what happens to you next and what tests you're given from that, et cetera, et cetera. So it's hugely important when you're offered different options to choose the the one that's the path that you really want to take.
Yeah. Well, yeah, no, I agree. I mean, you really need to be very, very careful about what levels of corruption you're being offered.
Yeah, and like more.
Why would you choose?
More,
yeah. Let me give you an example of that. As many of you know who have listened to the program, you know the Kundalini told me to go with my friend Charles to an Indian casino to gamble away my last $37. Now, in many mindsets, in many spiritual belief systems, and in many psychological belief systems, you know, science-based psychology and all this, psychiatry, they're saying, oh, wow, that's just going into a den of thieves. You know, I mean, that's putting your head in the lion's mouth, and what makes you think he's just not going to close it around you? You know, it's I'm going. You know, as I finally acquiesce to the Kundalini, and I go to the casino, and I win all this money, $5,000 or so, you know, from my 37, and you know. Was that a corruptive opportunity? Was that something that I should have not done? Should I have resisted my Kundalini? Because you know, we're taught in our society, just like, oh, casinos, oh, it's very bad, you know, bad juju, bad entities, bad spirits, gambling is bad, blah blah blah. But did it not? Did my acquiescence to the Kundalini and the opportunity that she's given me more than one time, by the way, with regards to casinos, is that all a bad thing? Should that be avoided? Should that be resisted? I say no, not at all. I say that the Kundalini can manipulate reality to the point where she knows which machine is going to hit, and she knows what seat you should sit at a certain gaming thing, and she knows that this is how that your education with regards to, say, the addictive aspects of gambling, how you choose not to respond to that addiction. Yes, you go in there. Yes, you take the casino's money, and yes, you leave. You buy a computer so that you can start your Kundalini teachings, because that's what the Kundalini does. Okay, it's important for people to remember that. Now, just a second, now, Elizabeth, I'm going to put you on the blue for just a second. Thank you for that.
Okay.
And come back up here now, Amelia. Did you have more to say about that incident?
No, Chrism. She just wanted to say thank you very much. She was crying and deeply appreciated what you said, because it answered her questions, even the ones she hadn't asked you. So she said to tell you thank you.
Well, she should thank her Kundalini. That's the one who deserves thanks. And my, you know, that which expresses itself through me says you're welcome. But you did the right thing, whoever you are. I'll just call you 717. You did the right thing, 717, and you continue to make those correct choices, and things will go very well for you and for your daughter and for the stepfather or step-grandfather, whatever they were. I missed out on that. Okay, let's go ahead with our questions then, Amelia.
Okay, Chrism. The first question, 2 seconds. Here we go. Okay. I hadn't it up. Here we go. All right. So the first, I don't have any questions that has been written to my inbox. So these are all taken from the group. Are your emotions controlled by your ego Or is it that your ego can have an effect on your emotions? Finding it hard to understand that if we trust entirely to Kundalini, why does our emotions get in the way of the trust? Or is Kundalini teaching us something so that we can grow?
Excuse me. I'll probably get another one too. I usually get them in twos. I want to thank Michelle Ranger.
So
she's here. So thank you, Michelle Ranger, for asking. That's an excellent question, and I'm going to say it's both ways. It's both ways, and there's actually a third way too. There can be karma can also have an impact on our emotional body, and that karmic impact on the emotional body can also affect the ego as well. So there's more than two ways to realize that, and this is just what came to me just now, Michelle. I didn't write that down, but yeah, it can be both ways, and more than just two ways. Karma, your karma, and even other people's karma can have an effect on your emotions, which your ego will respond to, which will become part of your energetic emotional anatomy. Over.
Okay, thank you, Chrism. After my Kundalini awakened, I dropped out of university, not because I was not good at it, I just could not see the end of it. Still, there are many jobs that I can do, however, I would prefer not to. I'm struggling to think of a job that does not intervene with Kundalini. Any ideas on this one?
Well, see, that's just preference. You know, that person's preference. It's just like, because he can't see the end of it, therefore, you know, he's just going to stop all of it. And I think that's just more of an egotistic response, an immature response to what the Kundalini is showing you. Just because you're being given a glimpse of the infinite doesn't spoil your searching for words here, doesn't spoil the importance of your current expression. You got to remember that you had the Kundalini before you were even going to college, and the Kundalini was very supportive of you going to college and doing the collegiate work. And just because you've been given a vision of the infinite does not spoil that previous guidance. It's just like saying, you know, it's like, well, my Kundalini showed me that fire exists, therefore I won't warm myself anymore. I won't wear warm clothing because fire exists, and I just don't see the end of fire, and so therefore I'm just not going to wear my jacket anymore. Jeez Louise, Centaur, can you move that phone somewhere else?
Just phone, that's the synchrism, and it makes three little noises. Just ignore it, please.
Oh my word!
Actually, and I didn't hear yours. I wonder, ask them, are they hearing that on the chat room? I know it sounds very loud to you.
Oh no! If I'm hearing it, they're hearing it. They're hearing it too. Okay,
and
next question.
The thing is, typically I don't get messages, but it's going on because my dad is sick. So that's why you're hearing it today.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
the next question
let's
is.
Wait a minute. Wait. Let's just put a healing vibe to your father. Atlanta Seeker, guest 1003, guest 1004, Katie, Mary, Michelle, iMagic, Yassine, all the different callers. Let's put a positive healing vibe towards Amelia's father, who is in his 90s, and he may be feeling a little under the weather. So let's go ahead and just put that healing vibe out there. Let your Kundalini reach through you to the father of Amelia. And you can just say, the father of Amelia. You don't need to see a picture. You don't need to know a name. You just need Amelia is the source for this. So just let your Kundalini expand from your heart into the Father of Amelia and let whatever needs to occur there to occur. Just take a moment for this. Take a moment for this, just like I did with Anara earlier today. Yeah. Yeah. That's right. Just let your energy come into the Father of Amelia, the Father of Amelia Centauro. And thank you, everybody. Thank you. And that goes for those of you that are viewing in the archives as well or listening in the archives as well. Send your energy to the Father of Amelia Centauro as well. Those of you listening on your computer. Okay, go ahead. Next question, my dear.
Thank you, everybody. The next question. During times of extreme increased energy or surges, adrenaline in the body spontaneously occurring, what is this time ideal for? Being creative, movement, or meditation? Thank you.
All of the above and more. Over.
Over?
Well, yeah. I mean, you know, they kind of answered their question themselves.
Yeah. They named yes. Okay,
Yeah.
Thank you, Chrism. Now,
Yeah.
on the group, you yourself wrote that you were going to be at John of God's in mid-January assisting with an entity extraction. And
Right.
There was a question there asking if you could explain a little bit about this and the role you
I'll
would
do
play.
that. Sure. No, that's fine. And what you do is you stand up there with John of God. Number one, you got to stand up there with John of God, and you get the biggest, rustiest knife that you can find, and you puncture the skin right under the occipital lobe, and you cut all the way down to the anal opening. And then you have a couple other people on either side of you. What? You have a couple of people on either side. They pull the skin back on either side.
Over.
No. I'll address that.
Okay, but there's another question which I'll read if I may.
Let me ask.
Okay. Stop. I'm stopping.
All right. So basically, what you're doing at John of God's is you're working on the energetic anatomy, and with a person that has entities, especially if they're very strong controlling entities, which this is the case. This gentleman has been on the show here a few times as well, so I think we all know who I'm talking about here. And so you become very, 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 very devotional. You become very, very open to the grace of God coming in and helping to eradicate specific types of influences that are corrupting your life. And you give yourself in a very, it's hard work, folks. First of all, you're in Brazil, which, has the reverse seasons. So we're in the middle of summer down there. And which is also the rainy season. So there's a lot of humidity, a lot of big, gnarly bugs. And you become very devotional. You become very, very tied into listening and to giving and to helping and to being kind and considerate. It becomes a very, very tactile, action-oriented Kundalini activating and awakening experience, which is then used by the that are there, and this is ET to be sure, by the ET that are there to initiate specific levels of response towards your healing vector. And that would be, in this case, to have the entities removed. Now, I know that they can do this because they've done this while I've been down there before. And I've actually seen the ETs that are doing it, and I've actually interacted with them, and they've been very kind with me. They have not been bad entities, like we get a lot with the Kundalini. And so, this is partially what will be going on down there. The other thing that I like to do when I'm down there is I like to spread as much kindness and goodness and healing expressions and radiance as I can when I'm down there. Yeah, and certainly, like, since I'm not going down with a big group of people like I was in 2010, it's more like I went down in 2002 and 2001 when I was down there just pretty much by myself, maybe with a few other people. And it's in those ways that you can really begin to assert yourself in a very, very healing, kind, considerate, nutritious way for other people to partake of your radiance. And this is what we'll be doing when we're down there. Over.
Okay, so there was another question, and it said, earlier on, I learned from the teachings on this group that healing work should not be taken and healing should not be taken and Reiki-like work sometimes lets the entities, good or bad, enter the energy. That's supposedly the universal energy and that the Reiki healers use. Does that attract karma? If so, how does the work at John of God's be different? I learned that it's a place of healing by divine means and that many surgeon spirits enter John of God as he performs those divine interventions, and he does not recollect many of them after the interventions are completed. Please explain if I'm missing out on something.
It's through ET, it's through extraterrestrials that these healings are given. Let's be clear about that. I don't know where this person has read it or what, is floating around the internet, but it's ET, extraterrestrial. And they have a level of technology that allows them to go interdimensional. And it's a fairly positive group of ETs there, and they are Kundalini aware. They are Kundalini aware because they are used by the Kundalini, by divinity. So in a sense, you could say it's divinely oriented, but they are used by divinity to utilize specific techniques and technologies that allow people to be given healings that do not abrogate or block an individual's karmic predisposition. So as long as let me give you an example. One of the hotel owners down there, they call the hotels down there Posada. So it's a Posada owner. His brother, or the lady's brother, went to John of God for something or another, living down there. And the ET through John of God said, don't fly your airplane on such and such a day at such and such a time. Well, the guy just totally ignored that. Totally ignored that instruction and went up in his airplane that very same day, crashed, and died. And, the Posada owner blamed the entities for not stopping him from doing that. Well, they couldn't stop him from making that choice to end his life at that day, at that time. They cannot heal you of any disease that is of a pre-existing karmic disposition that you did not agree to take on before you even, were born in that body. So they don't have 100% healing down there because, they'll just say, my son, this this is a karmic thing. This is something that you're going to have to learn to deal with. And this may be the exact same thing that happens to the individual I take down there, in mid-January. He may get in line, stand in line, wait around, go through the cleaning room, go through the devotional process, go through all these things, come up to John of God. John of God may say, hey, this is karma. Can't heal you. Have a nice day. So the scenario with John of God down there is that, these entities are aware. They can see a karmic map of an individual. And within that karmic map, they can see certain things that must occur. And they're not allowed to take that experience away from the person. Basically, they're not allowed to take karmic redemption away from the individual, even if it causes the death of that individual. Not everything is karma, by the way. Not everything has a karmic flag attached to it that is irrefutable. Many people go down there and receive healings. I received a healing down there just testing them out. So I know it works. And I know they know about Kundalini because I talked to them about Kundalini. And I know what they look like because I went out of body and I interacted with them. And I know how it feels for John of God to have these entities come in because I slept in the Cuarto de Entidade, which is the room of the entity. And I said, come on in, let me see what it feels like. And they did. So I totally understand how this feels, what this is, and what the efficacy of it is. Else I wouldn't suggest it to people. I've done my research, and it works. I've done my research, and it works, and it worked for me, and I've seen it work for other people. And, if people get their egos involved with it down there, and, it's like, they try to have the entities run the total sociological existence of the life of that little town of Abadiania down there. And I don't agree with that. But I do agree that it is a worthy place to receive healings that current science and technology cannot address. What is that, Francine? What was that noise? I may have to go into another room here in just a second. Oh, yeah. Just a second here. Okay. All right, I'm in the other room. So, John of God, it's a spiritist type of thing. And I'm not in agreement with all kinds of spiritism. I don't really, especially not with Kundalini people, inviting, entities to come in and use your body as a platform for giving healings to people. But I understand how it works with John of God, and I'm good with it. And so is he, by the way. He's living a good life, and he's doing a lot of good work. And the entities, prolong his life, prolong his health. They help him in many ways, and he helps other people in many ways. And a lot of MDs from the United States and from Europe go down there to experience this type of healing modality, and they're all blown away. We're talking surgeons, general practitioners from England and from France and from the United States and from Canada and from Australia and from Asia and Japan. And, all these people come down here to learn what this is about. And they all, they read about, what is involved with. A lot of people like to go down there and become, a part of that. That wasn't necessarily. Jeez Louise. Here, I know how that'll work. Amelia?
Yes, Chrism?
When I'm speaking,
yes?
Can you just put yourself in the blue?
Yes.
That'll take care of that buzzing sound. So yeah, the John of God scenario is a good scenario, but it's very, very, very close to mediumship. It is mediumship. It's very, very close to channeling, which I do not recommend for Kundalini awakened individuals or activated individuals, because you do not know yet what it is you're channeling. The best that an awakened or activated person can do at any specific stage is to just listen to the Kundalini. Just listen to the Kundalini. Now, the gentleman that I am escorting down there, he did that very thing. You know, for many, Elizabeth Dalton Gonzalez, myself, and Brooke Robertson, tonight we're going to be giving him a healing tonight, and right after one of those healings, the name John of God just popped into his head. He didn't really explore this at all. This wasn't a part of his current reality. This is more part of my reality. So the Shakti sent him the name John of God. And that's how this ball got rolling, was with the John of God opportunity for this person to not only grow and expand within his Kundalini, but to grow and expand in a way that disallows discarnate interference that is possibly too difficult for him to get a hold of himself. We'll see. We'll see if it's an okay karmic for this individual to go, and he's willing to take the risk and pay the money. So there we have it. And I'm going to say over and put you in the red there, Amelia. Next question.
Okay, Chrism. The next question, and it's the last one really. You mentioned on the group about vortex being natural to the Kundalini. Could you say something about that, vortex?
Yeah. Even when you're doing the first Tibetan in the safeties, you're creating a vortex of energy. When you put your arms out, you spin to the right, you're creating a vortex of energy. Every chakra that you have is literally a series of vortexes of energy. Kundalini moves in circles. The sacred feminine moves in circles. And those circles, as you move in a circle, so does a vortex move in a circle. And that is how that's why she came to me and said, yeah, vortexes are natural to the Kundalini. They move in a circular, undulating fashion. And this is it's a very natural expression of the Kundalini environment. The Kundalini energetic expression. So over with that one. No more questions then.
No more questions, Chrism.
Well,
actually, what I'll do is...
Yeah. Go ahead.
I will just give the websites that people can go to if they are in a position to make a donation. And if they'd like to make a donation, they would be gratefully received. And thank you. So here we go. You can go to chrism-kundalini.blogspot.com, or you can go to kas1uk.com, or you can go to kundalinisafeties.com. And those three websites have donation buttons, and it's very easy. Just hit the button and follow the instructions. And again, if you're in a position to donate, that would be wonderful. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much, my dear. And I want to thank everybody who's tuned in, everybody who participated. Atlantis Seeker, Michelle Ranger, 717, Elizabeth. Thank you for all the callers calling in. And I'm going to go ahead and call it an evening tonight, about 15 minutes early. But unless there's a question or someone has wants to make a comment, thank you very much for everyone joining us. Thank you for those who are listening in the archives, the future people. I'd like to give you that you can go to Chrism.Kundalini on YouTube. There's about 340 videos there. You can go to Kundalini Awakening ! On the Facebook network and on the Google Plus network. You can go to Kundalini Awakening Systems 1 at yahoogroups.com, at the Yahoo Groups network, and Kundalini on the Yahoo Groups network. We have a lot of opportunities for people to participate and to perhaps learn from various Kundalini awakened individuals, Santara and Elizabeth Dalton Gonzalez and Rosemary and Brooke Robertson and Alanis Seeker, Mary Jean, Michelle Ranger, Phil Karuba, iMagic Yassine Beatrice, and the many guests that we have that are listening. Thank you very much, everybody, and I will see you next week.